Toy shelves in the 80s were overflowing with action figure lines suffocating each other in a life and death competition for visibility and, more importantly, dollars. The very few who rose to the top of the pile didn't stay there long as He-Man and Masters of the Universe began to falter due to the inevitable march of time, competition, and declining interest. Mattel cried out for 1,000 heroes to save the day. Filmation sent one. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of Bravestarr. Bravestarr is a 1987 multimedia franchise developed by Filmation Studios in cooperation with toy manufacturer Mattel. 65 25-minute episodes aired in syndication from September of 1987 to December of 1988. It's a mashup of genres including science fiction, western, fantasy, superhero, steampunk, and cyberpunk. It's a show that is not afraid to impart some morality while making the case for diversity as a strength, the development of loyal friendships, and the use of firepower as an unfortunate but necessary last resort for defeating evil. Bravestarr is the story of John Bravestarr, one of the last surviving members of his home planet, wielding magical superpowers as an intergalactic law enforcement officer on a planet called New Texas. He is of Native American descent and has the ability to call upon spirit animals, which give him those superhuman powers. To utilize those powers, he speaks their name. Eyes of the hawk, which gives him a sight beyond sight, if you will. Ears of the wolf, which gives him super hearing. Strength of the bear, which gives him superhuman strength. And speed of the puma, which allows him to run as fast as the Flash. He fights against the evil forces of the demonic Stampede and his minion Tex Hex. Helping him in this fight are a mysterious shaman named Shaman, a transforming robot horseman named 3030, and Judge J.B. McBride, his sometimes love interest and legal advisor. New Texas has been colonized by off-worlders after the discovery of a vast supply of a very rare mineral called curium. One golf ball-sized piece of curium can power a spaceship for like a whole year. Filmation is the same studio that produced He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, the series that helped move hundreds of millions of dollars in licensed merchandise for Mattel. Action figures, vehicles, playsets, comic books, backpacks, video games, party supplies, sunglasses, Halloween costumes, clothing, cake decorations. This is the type of brand, the scale of marketing power that Mattel and Filmation were both looking to repeat with Bravestarr. The path to Bravestarr began with another Filmation animated series from 1986 called Ghostbusters. Not the real Ghostbusters, just plain Ghostbusters. The one with the gorilla on the team. During production for Ghostbusters, executive producer Lou Scheimer was so enamored with a design for a ghoulish cowboy that he requested his creative team begin developing a science fiction western series. That character would go on to become Tex Hex, the arch nemesis of Bravestarr and one of the first off-worlders to discover the curium mines, and the first to attempt to collect it by forcibly enlisting the native prairie people. Bravestarr is a show that casts a Native American descendant as its lead while simultaneously demonstrating the willingness of New Texans, good and evil, to exploit native inhabitants as slave labor in their quest for wealth and power while stripping the land of its natural resources. The development for Bravestarr was a cooperative production that saw compromise from both Filmation and Mattel. After Filmation pitched the concept to Mattel, Mattel put their marketing experts to work to determine how best to position Bravestarr as the money-making successor to Masters of the Universe, how best to utilize the data they had collected from previous successes and failures. For instance, Bravestarr takes place in the 24th century, 2349 to be precise, on the planet New Texas. New Texas was originally going to be called New Cheyenne, further emphasizing the Native American connections, but testing revealed that the target market didn't really get the reference. The original design for the playset Fort Curium was going to include a cantina, but once again, test groups showed that kids didn't know what a cantina was for. Testing also showed that Bravestarr's original coloring scheme of mostly gold was something that the cool, tough kids of 1987 weren't going to be interested in. Get some blue in there. Blue is a tough, unambiguous, cool kid color. Mattel shortened Bravestarr's ponytail as very clearly depicted in the cartoon to make it easier to produce from a toy engineering standpoint, or so they said. But also because data showed that boys didn't want action figures that weren't tough as nails, ready to eat nails and shoot nails out of their teeth. Mattel ultimately skipped right over all the magic power stuff to leave space in the box for guns, rifles, and pistols.
The Neutralizer, awesome electronic weapon in the battle between Tex Hex and Marshal Bravestarr. Bravestarr! Now you've got the neutralizer and neutralizer target. The weapon that really shoots invisible electronic beams to blast your enemy's target.
Gotcha!
But now Tex Hex attacks. Look, he's on a neutralizer target. Can you and Bravestarr blast it?
Ah! Awesome!
Join the battle. Blast the outlaws with the neutralizer. New from Bravestarr. Batteries not included. Toys sold separately. Assembly required.
Mattel was working on several products that would incorporate a new type of play gimmick that allowed toys to interact with each other via infrared beams of light or, for the purpose of selling toys, lasers. Mattel's He-Man line would include the Beam Blaster and Artillery in 1987. Their Captain Power line would be built entirely around the gimmick in 1987 and 88. Bravestarr was part of this gimmick rollout with laser fire backpacks that could be fitted to the various action figures, allowing for interactivity between figures. There was also a full-size neutral laser which you could use to shoot at the figures, the interactive playset, or another neutral laser similar to laser tag. The Mattel marketing plan was to have the Bravestarr toys on the shelves in December of 1986, before the TV show even aired. They wanted to get some early buzz generated during the holiday season. The thought was that the toys had been designed to be interesting, appealing, compelling in and of themselves, independent of the show, so they should be able to compete without any media support whatsoever. It was a strategy that had worked for Popples. Why not Bravestarr? Bravestarr packaging was window boxed as opposed to the blister carded presentation that had been so successful for just about every other action figure line in existence. It had gold foil stamping to give it a premium, high-end look and feel. Mattel was so confident about the line, they hoped it would compete with Cabbage Patch Kids and Trivial Pursuit for holiday crazes and purchasing strength. They were already talking up the second wave of toys before the first wave was even released. Clearly riding high on their own marketing data, the hope for both Filmation and Mattel was that it would match or surpass the success of Barbie. Of course, this data completely missed what kids were really connecting with when it came to toy lines in the 80s based on cartoons. The interest in the toy came from the cartoon. The data undervalued that kids were falling in love with the mythology first, which then drove them to want to own a piece of it. With no knowledge of the toys, there was no interest in the toys. The sales performance out of the gate was underwhelming. For all the efforts Mattel made to produce a perfectly marketed figure, the math had proven to be wrong. The toys arrived in December of 1986. The animated series would not air until 10 months later in September of 1987. The animated movie, which would tell the origins of all the characters and the world of New Texas, wouldn't be released until March of 1988. Bravestarr's success was dependent on it being one of the best toys ever produced in and of itself without any media exposure to go with it, and history shows it wasn't. Wave 2 of the toy line was planned and some prototypes were assembled, but nothing was ever released. Bravestarr was the last animated series created by Filmation before Filmation closed for good in 1989. Probably just a coincidence. Even at that time, despite all the data, Filmation was in development of Bravo, a Bravestarr spin-off focusing on the natives of New Texas, the prairie people, and all the hilariously unintelligible comedic adventures they had. Bravestarr the series can be found today via a 2007 DVD release or a second release in 2011. Or, I mean, since you're here anyway, every episode, the movie, and the unaired Bravo pilot are on YouTube, most of it at the Bravestarr official YouTube channel. Bravestarr action figures can still be found on sites like eBay. Complete and in good condition samples can get pricey, more so for mint and box. But the good news is there aren't that many figures in the line, so it won't take much to complete it. Bravestarr was a test of the marketing system that had been built and refined, nearly perfected by its predecessors like Transformers, G.I. Joe, and He-Man. It was a unique world with fully realized characters that gave kids some action and adventure, with a side of morality to go with the laser fights and magic demon monsters. It centered on a Native American hero and thematic inspiration. It attempted to fulfill the hopes and dreams of toy and cartoon executives, but failed to connect with kids and parents in any way even remotely resembling the success that He-Man and the Masters of the Universe had and still has to this day. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you're in a position to help the channel grow, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy. Share this video and let us know in the comments down below if you've ever heard of Bravestarr, and if you know what the difference is between Bravestarr Galaxy Rangers and Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs. Don't cheat, don't look it up. Just tell me how many of those 3 series have talking horses.
All of them.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't either. Cut.